All right, let's get more into this global instability. After the American incursion into Venezuela, there are concerns that, as you heard, about Greenland, perhaps even Canada, that they might be next. Rob Huebert is the director of the U of C Center for Military Security and Strategic Studies. As always, Rob, we appreciate you taking time for us. Lots to get through, but let's start with this operation into Venezuela. We've had a few days to hear from the Trump administration. Cut through the politics for us, because there's a lot of different reasons we've heard for why this may have happened. Tell us why you think this happened now.
Well, there's two major explanations for this. First of all, this is normal American action. America has a tradition of going after foreign leaders that it sees as a threat or a problem. We have Bush going after Noriega in Panama. We even have Obama going after Obama in Pakistan. But the bigger picture here is this seems to be an element of the reshaping of American strategic and foreign policy. The Americans have just released what they're calling the National Security Strategy, which is centered all around Trump. It's a very bizarre document, because the first few chapters are just basically saying what a great guy Trump is and how he deserves a Nobel Prize and that type of rhetoric. But the problem within that document is it says that the U.S. is now going to be focused on hemispheric control, spheres of influence. And so you put that together with the move into Venezuela to seize the leader and to seize the resources of that country, because remember, the oil is a major element of what is basically coming out right now. You then immediately put that in the picture that the Americans are continuing the rhetoric about taking control of Greenland, and then you add that to the rhetoric that Trump has always had about annexing Canada. And we see a United States that seems to be completely moving away from the traditional Western rule of law, the way that the Americans have been working within the system since the end of the Second World War, into one that now seems to say, hey, the Western Hemisphere is ours, and we can do whatever we want within that context. And that's the part that I think most people are the most concerned about right now.
Yeah, so let's get into the Greenland situation. They have doubled down repeatedly now since the initial tweet from the wife of Trump's chief of staff about Greenland. I guess, what's your level of concern around this, and how do you see it playing out?
I see great concern because, again, the one hallmark that we're starting to see with the Trump administration in the second term is, again, he tells us what he's going to be doing, and he does have follow through. And this has been a constant theme that the Trump administration and Trump himself is saying we need to control Greenland. Now, I'll add that it's lunacy, because nobody can understand it that has sort of followed U.S.-Greenland relations, because Greenland and the United States since 1951 have had this amazing security relationship where the Americans have basically been able to set up the type of security bases that they want. It's mainly around Air Force, space capabilities. The Greenlandic Home Rule says yes, and it's been a very, very harmonious relationship. So when Trump starts saying, well, we need it for security reasons, it's as if that doesn't matter. It's not security issues, but it's this return to almost a form of imperialism where it's just for the sake of saying you've got control.
And of course, Canada also on that list of countries that Trump has mentioned since the second term began. How concerned should Canadians be?
I think very concerned, because we're seeing a U.S. presidency that doesn't seem to be constrained by any of the usual ways of being constrained. As I said, the Americans before have always had this go after leaders if they think that they are, in fact, the individuals that they want to take out. But it's this increasing rhetoric about the control of the Western Hemisphere, this continuance irrational policy of basically hurting our economy so much with their tariffs. And I think that when we start seeing this rhetoric being put into play so much, and we still stay in the center lines, I think Canadians have every reason to stay and remain very concerned with what's happening.
Okay, we'll continue to follow it. I'm sure we'll have you back soon if we can. Rob, very much appreciate your time. That is Rob Huebert, director of the U of C Center for Military Security and Strategic Studies.